Hi there, my name is Kim Nixon. Welcome to my home studio. This is where I live stream all of my yoga classes, my live streaming classes. I've been teaching yoga classes for Maine General since 2014. And this little series that I'm doing is something that really aligns with the way that I teach and the focus of um, one of the primary focuses of all of my classes. So, this series is on the therapeutic applications of yoga, and today is the fifth class, and we're doing yoga to support knees and ankles. Um, so, knee issues are so prevalent. Knee and ankle issues both are so prevalent. Um, I see so many knee replacements in my yoga classes. I see lots of lost range of motion in knees and ankles. Um, and so, what we're going to do today, we're going to address this like I could do a 2 hour class on knees and ankles. So I'm trying to sort of uh, summarize, consolidate it into bite sized pieces to give you sort of the three or four things that I feel are like the biggest bang for your buck. So, contributors to knee issues in the body: weak inner thighs and tight outer thighs, overactive quadriceps, underactive glutes, tight calves and hamstrings, we all have those, poor hip and ankle mobility, weak feet and ankles, that is a huge one, and lack of awareness of proper alignment. So we can do a lot with just awareness. So what we're doing in this practice today, we're going to have some focus on what we can be aware of to help with our own knees and ankles, either keeping them healthy or helping to strengthen and open them and hopefully leading to less pain in our bodies. So, awareness, strengthening and alignment, and opening. Um, Basically, like stretching, but I'm going to show you this in a yin yoga format. So, stretching is actually active. I'm going to show you a passive way to stretch like we would in yin yoga. So, what you're going to need for practice today, you're going to need at least a block or two. If you have knee issues, I would recommend three. So many of you may not have blocks. For this practice, if you don't have a block, you could go and find a couple of big dictionaries or something solid. Can't be soft, has to be solid because it has to support enough so that the body feels safe. For those who actually have knee issues, I would really recommend going out and buying two or three blocks because I think in this practice today can help a lot for people who have knee or ankle issues. I myself had ankle issues, oh, so painful. Really pretty extreme ankle issues for 2 years, 2010, 2011. In my case, um, it was actually yoga that healed my ankles. And it wasn't even what I set out to do because I didn't even realize that that was a possibility. So basically, that happened spontaneously during my yoga teacher training. And I did practice yoga for several years before that teacher training. But I was doing it like a class a week, a gentle class a week. I wasn't applying the principles of a certain posture or two like every day. So that can be very helpful. So, two or three yoga blocks or chunks of wood or dictionaries. knees. And 2 blankets. So one that you're going to fold to sit on. I've got one under myself, under my seat. And one more that you can roll up to use for an awareness practice we're going to do. And that's actually how we're going to start. So you can use for this either a rolled blanket, or you can even use an extra yoga mat. So what I'm going to do is, and again, this is not actually yoga. This particular piece is just an awareness practice. So we're going to find our inner quadricep muscles, the ones that tend to be weak. I call those muscles not just the inner quadriceps, but I have a phrase that I always refer to muscles as forgotten muscles. So the arches are one of those in that group of forgotten muscles. For many of us, we've kind of forgotten our arch muscles, but also these inner thigh muscles. So find something that you can roll to place under your knees. And you can do this against a wall. The reason for the blanket under the seat is so that I can have my spine in alignment, so that I'm not stressing my lower back the whole time I'm doing this. So just by having this behind our knees, we're actually taking a little bit of the stress out of the lower back, because tight calves and hamstrings, we all have them. So just placing this roll behind your knees, and then I'm just going to have you sit up nice and straight, align the spine, or again, sit against a wall, and then just drop your right foot. So drop the toes out to the right. So just let that foot and leg relax out to the right. If you have to turn it a little bit, fine. All we're doing here is we're trying to find this muscle, just so we will have an awareness of it in our mind, and also so our body will have an awareness of it. So find your kneecap, and then find the upper inside corner of your kneecap, and just drop off the edge there, and then move your fingers in a straight line upward 2 or 3 inches. And I'm just going to press in there with my fingers, leg completely relaxed, right toes tipped out to the side. And then I'm going to start to straighten my legs. So I've got a little bend here because of this roll underneath. So I'm going to start to engage and straighten my leg as I push into this spot. And it doesn't matter. Don't get too caught up in, am I in the right spot? Because it kind of doesn't matter. This is the area where that muscle lives. So as you start to lengthen and straighten this leg, you'll probably feel that muscle pop up. That's your inner quadricep muscle, your vastus medialis. And drop that leg back down. And then we're going to try that one more time with those right toes still pointed out or dropped out to the side, relaxed out to the side, and then engage the leg, straighten the leg, and you feel that muscle pop up. So relax. We're going to sort of put this into practice as it would apply to a yoga posture here in a little while. So same thing on the other side now, dropping the left toes out to the left. Find your kneecap. Find the top part of your kneecap, top inner corner of the kneecap. Drop off an inch or so. And then slide up your leg 2 or 3 inches. And just press in. And now engage and extend that leg. And you feel a muscle pop up. And then relax that leg down. So we actually are working this muscle by doing this. So this is the muscle, the inner quadricep muscle tends to be not as strong and not as used, and we don't have as much awareness of it as the outer quadricep muscle. So one more time. Straighten, Engage, feel that muscle. And then relax the foot down. So that is all we are doing with the rolled blanket or the yoga mat or whatever you found to put behind your knees. So you can send that off to the side. And so make sure now that you can feel your sits bones. Your sits bones, those two bones sort of at the base of your butt. Again, you can do this against a wall. Now that we've taken that blanket out, suddenly we feel all of this tightness in the hamstrings. So just sitting straight and aligned with our legs out in front, we're getting a little bit of a stretch in those tight hamstrings. So now I'm going to have you bring your awareness to your shin bones. I want you to make sure that your shin bones are pointing straight upward, and I want you to engage your feet. So engage your feet, meaning draw them back towards your body, and all of a sudden you feel how tight those hamstrings are. So just lengthen through your spine and just breathe into those tight hamstrings for a moment. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Just sending a little awareness, a little relaxation into those hamstrings, and then relax the feet. So this particular practice, what we're actually doing here, I want to show you how your quadriceps work with the kneecaps. So one of the things that can go wrong with the knees, and I had this happen a few years ago, it was just a tiny, tiny little slip of my foot as I was getting into my car. I didn't fall. It was, it was just my ankle twisted a tiny bit out to the side. And it changed the tracking of my kneecap is what actually was going on. But it led to some pretty intense pain for a couple of weeks climbing stairs. So this is one of the things that can go wrong with the knees is with the tracking of the kneecap. So when I went to my chiropractor, she actually showed me this. So look down at your knees, engage your feet, and as soon as you engage your feet, you feel the lower part of those quadriceps engage. And this is going to be what's actually happening here is when we engage those quadriceps, when our legs are in alignment, they're helping to retrain the knee to track. Relax those feet again. We're just going to engage one more time here. And I want you to notice, because it's a very tiny, tiny thing, but what happens when those quadriceps engage is they actually lift that kneecap. So kind of like doing bicep curls with the lower part of this quadricep. So just engage one more time. And engage the quadriceps as well. And maybe your glutes will engage at the same time, and that's fine. And then relax. So this simple awareness of having our legs in alignment as we do that can help to reset the kneecap tracking. So we're going to make our way right up to standing now. You can move your blanket. I hope that you have a yoga mat, because I want you to have something that you can stand on that's not slippery. So just make your way right up to standing. And we're just going to come into mountain pose. So this is how I would begin any one of my Hatha yoga classes. I teach every Friday morning, my live streaming class. I teach yoga on the boardwalk in the summer down in Gardner. So active yoga, Hatha yoga. Every single one of my classes will start with this building of mountain pose because of the awareness of alignment. So, our feet are kind of forgotten by us in a sense. Certainly, the alignment of our joints is forgotten, and this is a very powerful practice. The reason that we do this every class is to remind our bodies that this is what we want to do when we're in our everyday life. When we're walking, it would be nice to have our bodies in this alignment because it protects us. So, your feet might be a little tired, might get a little tired during this practice. So, bringing your awareness to your feet about hip width apart, which is going to be about the width of your fist. So we always think when I say hip width, I see people step out because we think that our hips are so wide. But what we're looking for, we're looking to align these front hip bones over the knees and ankles. So about hip width. Now imagine 4 points in both of your feet, two on either sides of the balls of the feet, two in the heels of the feet. So an inner and an outer point at the front of the feet, and an inner and an outer point in the heels of the feet. Now, I want you to try to balance those 8 points out. So the thing is, when we have an injury in our life, 5 years old, fall off the bike, sprain an ankle at 30, our body doesn't always 100% recover its natural alignment on its own. It needs our awareness. So I could still have my weight distributed on my left side because of a right side injury that I had years ago, because my body may have gotten used to that. So, awareness to the feet. Try to balance out those 8 points in the feet. This might seem like no big deal as you're doing this right now, but as you deepen your practice in yoga, you find that it actually requires even more concentration to do this because your awareness of it grows. So try your best to balance out those 8 points, front to back, side to side. And this applies to the feet individually as well. So some of us have high arches and some of us have low arches. If you happen to know which you have, that's great. I have arches that are so low that my feet are flat. So I've had flat feet all my life. What I call that now, because I kind of don't have flat feet now because I have trained myself to have an arch. What happens when you have no arch at all, or you have pronated arches, is your ankles tend to pronate. So they tend to roll inward to where that arch area is that would normally be holding them up a bit. So low arches, typically, if you had low arches, you might feel inner ankle pain. Typically, if you have high arches, you might feel pain on tops of the feet. And often we know because some doctor has told us along the way, high arches, low arches. So bringing your awareness to your arches, those 8 points are still balanced. Now, if you think that you have low arches, then just again, like that bicep curl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my arch toward my inner ankle. Like a person with flat feet, like me, I may have no awareness whatsoever of that muscle because it was never used until I started using it. These are the things that I refer to as forgotten muscles. So I've just lifted that arch a tiny bit. I always notice my left toe wants to help me do that. So that's what I'm working on these days. And I've been practicing yoga for years. So if you have high arches, what you might actually notice is that your legs might even, now this is, kind of, this is going to be subtle, the inward or outward rotation of the ankle. So it might not be really, really obvious, but if you feel like you walk more on the outsides of your feet and you have a super high arch, then you can even press your weight the tiniest bit toward those inner foot points. So there's the feet. I know that was a lot of time, but it's so crucially important. We'll also go through this exact same thing when we do feet and ankles the next time. So now lift the toes, spread the toes, and place the toes back down. Now engage your core gently, draw your navel toward your spine, and then stack your joints. So this is subtle again. So stack knees over ankles. Maybe it means you feel like you need to move your knees back this much, and hips over knees, and then shoulders up, back, and down, stretching down through the hands, feet still active, still doing whatever you're doing with the arches in the feet. So here's the thing about this particular practice. If I were to be able to maintain this all the time when I walk, and that's the whole idea, is we're sort of exercising our arches and our foot muscles here. Remember, weak feet and weak ankles is one of, or two of the contributors to knee issues. So if I was able to maintain this while I'm walking or while I'm just moving through life, then I'm protecting my knees more than how we normally walk and go through life. So shake this all out. Feet are probably sore. Feet probably feel like they've just been doing bicep curls. So all we're going to do here, we're not actually going to go into yoga postures, or not full yoga postures, but for those who are familiar with yoga, for those who have done yoga classes, I just want to show you how these two awareness and alignment pieces come into the cues you'll hear in a yoga class, and how we can apply these two pieces to our postures. So coming to the top of your mat, make sure that you don't have anything slippery on your feet. So make sure you're very stable here. Feet should be bare. You should be on, ideally, a yoga mat. But as long as you're on something that's not slippery, then that's fine. I'm going to just step back with my right foot about 3.5 feet, and I'm going to turn that right foot to a 90-degree angle, as if I'm going into a warrior two. So stepping back with the right, I'm stepping back 3.5 feet, left foot points forward, right foot points to the side of my mat. Now I don't want to let this knee hyperflex. Hips start to square to the side of the mat, which is why we have this foot at a 90. Navel follows, rib cage follows. So notice when you try to square those hips, do you see my leg moving in? So what I want to do is I want to hold that knee where it is in alignment with my foot. So it's like I'm pulling in two different directions here. I'm opening this right hip up, but I'm keeping that left knee right where it is. Now I'm going to drop down. So full warrior two pose, arms would be up, shoulders down, dropping into a lunge. I don't want to use the arms here because I want to keep the awareness on the lower body. There's a lot to think of. So draw navel toward the spine, just bring your hands to your hips. All awareness on this knee. What you will always hear in a yoga class is that the knee can never be beyond the ankle. And it can't, because the second that knee is beyond the ankle, my body weight is now being supported by my knee joint and the tissues around my knee joint. And that's not what that knee is made for. When I keep that knee aligned with the ankle, my whole knee joint is being supported by this leg bone. So there's no stress going on. The other thing, and different teachers have different cues. You'll hear me say inner knee toward outer knee, because what will happen in this posture is this front knee will often cave in. So that's all part of this vastus medialis, this inner quadricep weakness going on. So I just want you to check in with this knee, ideally, and you can slide this foot back if you need to. Ideally, you're going to be able to see your big toe. If you look down, you're going to be able to see your big toe there. And your knee is going to be in alignment-ish with that second toe. So if my knee was dropped in, I wouldn't be able to see my big toe. So that's what that whole big toe thing is about. So I'm actually feeling a stretch here in this inner thigh as well, coming on out. We're just going to do the other side. So we didn't even do the arch on this side, but we will on the other. So I focused on the knee on this side. Just bring that foot parallel. Turn the right foot out. And same thing here. So this left foot is now at a 90-degree angle. Angles and postures are so important. Warrior one, we'd be in a 45-degree angle. You'll hear yoga teachers say these specific cues, and we'll think it's kind of about the posture, but it's not. It's about our strengthening within the posture and about protecting our joints. So in Warrior two, where we're squared to the side of our mat, this foot is out to a 90. If I were in Warrior one, it would be at a 45. So 90-degree angle, hips start to square, rib cage follows. Notice this knee wants to pull it back. We're not using the arms still, so just bring your hands to your hips and drop down into your lunge. Why this 3.5? I'll usually actually state a distance, and that's because that is the average distance necessary for the average body, because if I'm not stepped back far enough and I try to go into a lunge here, my knee will be beyond my ankle. So dropping into that lunge, remembering all the things from the other side. So inner knee toward outer knee, meaning I'm sort of drawing it to the outside. Also, notice, so now that we're with the arch, so make sure you can see your big toe. And I notice that when I roll, so this is like having pronated ankles. When this knee rolls to the inside, my foot goes right down flat to the floor. My arch does. But when I draw inner knee toward outer knee, it creates an arch in my foot. So that's it. I just wanted you to feel that vastus medialis engagement, and to know the reason for the cueing in yoga, and to be able to actually experience this in the foot. So what I'm trying to do in this posture, I'm trying to balance out those 4 points in that foot, trying to lift my toes and stretch my toes forward. So coming on out. And we're just going to make our way down to the mat now. So again, you'll need your blocks now. What I wanted to do, there are so many things, so much explanation that I could go into for knees and ankles. And again, for myself, having had extreme ankle issues, I just wanted to try to whittle it down into what I thought were the very, very best things that you could be aware of to support your knees and ankles, what you could be aware of, or maybe even what you could turn into a daily practice so that Tadasana, that mountain pose alignment, could be is what I would recommend as a massage therapist. So I'm a massage therapist as well as a yoga teacher. My lens for teaching often combines the two. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come into just a simple hero's pose. I say simple, but many bodies, this is going to be really, really hard. So just take a moment, just come into a seat however you want to come into a seat. If you cannot come into a hero's pose, those with knee and ankle issues are not going to be able to come into a full hero's pose like this. So those who can, great. This is a great way, those who can with zero pain, and that's the big deal. Those who can with zero pain, great. Keep doing this because our range of motion, that old saying, use it or lose it, very much applies to our range of motion. And why is range of motion a big deal? Because lost range of motion often equates to pain. So now I'm going to show those who can't do this posture how to modify. It's not about the posture. This is one of the postures that I always teach in my yin class with all of these modifications. Because if we can find a way to support our body with props so that our body feels supported and safe, then the body starts to open. That's the whole principle behind yin yoga, which is really my specialty, teaching yin. So this is a yin yoga posture. And I do have many people in my classes, several people in my classes with knee replacement. So this is something that we're all working on together. So if you cannot come into this posture, and it's because of strong discomfort or pain in your knees, and for ankle people, just sit tight for a minute. So one block, I always recommend the flat side just because it's more comfortable to sit on than trying to put it up and balance on this tiny little surface. The tall way. So the wide way, just having a seat on this block. And then see if you can bring your spine into alignment. So this is, I'm not forward here. I'm not trying to push myself into this posture. I'm just monitoring, scanning my body to see what I feel here. No pain in the ankles, no pain in the knees. And my spine is aligned. If that's not you and you're feeling still strong discomfort in the knees, second block. I always tell people you can take this as high as you need to take it using whatever you have. Now I only have 2 blocks here, but I could put a blanket up on top. I'm probably gonna mess up my pile here. Or I could certainly try to put a blanket up on top of my blocks. What I'm looking for is where can my body feel supported and safe in that posture. Now, my issue with that posture wasn't knees, it was ankles. There's no way I could have done that posture in 2010 or 2011. So this is how I would do it for ankles. Rolling a blanket. Your blanket might need to be a bigger roll. Your blanket might need to be a smaller roll. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the fronts of my ankles right over this roll. So I'm going to place the fronts of my ankles here. So now my feet, my ankles don't have to extend so much. Your blanket might have to be fatter or taller. We're looking for where I can align my spine and relax in. For some people, it might be both knees and ankles. So you can use some combination. This roll, bringing my ankles a little bit wider, sitting on a block as well. So, why I said that I would recommend, so I hope you have found a posture that works for you, because um, that is actually the posture that I will recommend all the time for especially people who have had knee replacement and they've lost a lot of range of motion. So, with surgery, with injuries, we often lose a lot of range of motion because tissue is sometimes removed. And then there's scar tissue, which is tighter than that soft, smooth, original tissue. So I see yin yoga, and this is how I teach yin yoga, one of the many postures that I teach within yin. I see yin yoga working a lot like braces. So we all know someone who's had braces. Maybe we had braces. Maybe our kids had braces. Now, how does that work? This is my favorite analogy for yin yoga. So braces work by giving it a little bit of tightening, and then you wait a while, and then you tighten a little bit, and then you wait a while. And what does it do? It remodels all of the tissue of the jaw and the mouth. Like, it's shocking that it works like that, because we think of, hard jawbone, hard teeth. Um, but that's how braces work. Yin yoga works in a very similar way. So, this last posture, what I would recommend for anyone who has lost range of motion, I can't emphasize enough. You have to feel zero pain. A little bit of discomfort is fine, because there's going to be a little bit of discomfort in a stretch. So that posture, sitting on blocks or with rolled blankets or whatever you find to be your hero's pose, I would recommend for anyone with knee or ankle issues to make that a daily practice for just a couple of minutes a day. A couple of minutes a day when you're watching TV, a couple of minutes a day first thing in the morning or before bed at night, because it will work like braces. The key is no pain, spine in alignment, body relaxed. I will also say that the building of Tadasana piece, so that's the strengthening piece. This is the opening piece. When we stood up and built our Tadasana, our mountain pose, that was the foot and ankle strengthening and alignment piece. So we've pretty much covered the list of that I read at the very beginning of class, of all the things that contribute to knee and ankle issues. So I hope you got something you can use out of this practice today. Please feel free to join me anytime for a practice. I'm teaching 5 live streaming classes a week now, Monday through Saturday. You'll find out everything you want to know about me at kimnixonyoga.com. Thank you so much for joining me for practice. Namaste.